I was, standing in the doorway of room 347 at Boston General Hospital, wearing my navy blue scrubs and holding a patient chart. I looked down at the name, Mark Collins, age 37, minor head injury from a fall. I pushed open the door, walked in with my professional smile and said, "Good morning, Mr. Collins. I'm Chloe, and I'll be your nurse today." And the look on his face? Priceless. Because Mark Collins wasn't just another patient. He was my ex-husband, the man who'd told me 4 years ago that my dreams were unrealistic, the man who'd said I'd never amount to anything, the man who'd left me and our child to focus on his career. And now, he was lying in a hospital bed, vulnerable and helpless, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. Let me back up, because this moment, this beautiful, poetic justice of a moment, didn't happen by accident. It happened because I refused to stay broken. 4 years ago, I was a completely different person. I was married to Mark, living in a nice apartment in Boston, trying to be the perfect wife. But no matter what I did, I felt invisible. Mark worked in corporate finance. Big job, big pressure, big ego. Every conversation we had somehow turned into a lecture about how stressful his job was, how much responsibility he carried, how I couldn't possibly understand. I remember one night, I'll never forget this. I was cooking dinner and I mentioned that I was thinking about going back to school, maybe studying nursing. I'd always been interested in healthcare, in helping people. Mark barely looked up from his laptop. "Nursing school? Chloe, you're 29 years old. That ship has sailed. But I really think I could. Do you have any idea how expensive that would be? How much time that would take? We can't afford for you to chase some fantasy right now." A fantasy. That's what he called my dream. I went quiet, finished cooking, served him dinner, and something inside me died a little that night. That wasn't the only time. It was a pattern. When I talked about wanting to do something meaningful with my life, he'd say, "What you do at home is meaningful. Why isn't that enough?" When I mentioned feeling lonely, he'd say, "I'm working to provide for us. This is what adults do, Chloe. Grow up." When I asked if we could spend more time together, he'd sigh heavily and say, "You don't understand the pressure I'm under." I felt like I was shrinking. Every day I became a little smaller, a little quieter, a little less like myself. We had a daughter, Emma, who was 3 years old at the time. She was the only light in my life, the only thing that made me feel like I had purpose. But even that became a source of tension. "Can you keep her quiet? I'm on an important call." "Why is the house such a mess? What do you do all day?" "I can't deal with this right now, Chloe. Handle it." The breaking point came on our anniversary, our 7th anniversary. I'd planned a nice evening, nothing fancy, just dinner at home. Emma was at my mom's. I'd bought his favorite wine. I was hoping we could reconnect, talk, maybe remember why we'd fallen in love in the first place. He came home at 10 p.m. "Sorry, work thing ran late," he said, loosening his tie. "It's our anniversary, Mark." He stopped, looked at me like I'd just told him something mildly inconvenient. "Right, sorry. Can we do something this weekend?" That's when I knew. He didn't see me. He didn't value me. I was just there, part of the furniture, part of his routine, not a person with dreams and feelings and needs. That night, after he fell asleep, I cried silently in the bathroom, and I made a decision. I was done being invisible. 2 weeks later, I asked for a divorce. I was terrified. I had no job, no real work experience, a 3-year-old daughter, but I knew if I stayed, I would disappear completely. Mark was, surprisingly, okay with it. "If that's what you want," he said, almost relieved. No fight, no attempt to save the marriage, no "let's try therapy" or "what can I do differently?" Just acceptance. Like I was a project he was happy to abandon. We did the divorce quickly. He agreed to pay minimal child support, just enough to meet the legal requirement. He took most of the savings. I got Emma and our old car. He moved into a nice condo downtown. I moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment in a cheaper neighborhood. And then he basically disappeared from our lives. He'd see Emma maybe once a month, always cutting visits short because of work. He never asked how I was doing, never checked if we needed anything. It was like we'd never existed. I spent the first month after the divorce in survival mode. I got a job as a receptionist at a dental office. It paid barely enough to cover rent and groceries. My mom helped watch Emma while I worked. Every night after putting Emma to bed, I'd sit at my kitchen table and think, is this it? Is this all my life is going to be? And one night, I remembered what I'd told Mark about wanting to study nursing. I pulled out my laptop and started researching. Nursing programs in Boston, community colleges, prerequisites, financial aid. It seemed impossible. I was a single mother with no money and no time. But then I thought, 4 years from now, I'll be 33 years old whether I go to nursing school or not. I can be 33 and stuck in the same place, or I can be 33 with a nursing degree. The choice seemed obvious. I enrolled in a community college nursing program. It was brutal. I'd work at the dental office from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., rush to pick up Emma from my mom's, make dinner, help her with whatever a 3-year-old needs help with, put her to bed at 8 p.m., then study until midnight or later. I took online classes whenever I could. I studied during my lunch breaks. I recorded lectures and listened to them while cooking or driving. There were nights I fell asleep with my face in a textbook. Mornings I woke up exhausted, wondering if I could keep going. But Emma kept me going. She'd see me studying and ask, "What's that, Mommy?" "Mommy's learning to be a nurse, to help people feel better." "Like a superhero?" I'd smile. "Yeah, baby, like a superhero." My first year, I got straight A's. I couldn't believe it. I'd spent so many years being told I wasn't smart enough, wasn't capable enough, and here I was, succeeding. My professors noticed. One of them, Dr. Martinez, pulled me aside after class one day. "Chloe, you're one of the best students I've had in years. Have you thought about specializing? Emergency medicine? ICU?" I almost laughed. "I'm just trying to survive and get my degree." "You're going to be an excellent nurse," she said. "Don't sell yourself short." Those words meant more to me than she could ever know. In my second year, we started clinical rotations, actually working with real patients in real hospitals. And I loved it. I loved the fast pace. I loved problem solving. I loved the feeling of making a real difference in someone's day, even if it was just bringing them water or holding their hand while they were scared. One elderly patient, Mrs. Chen, held my hand while I checked her vitals. "You're going to be wonderful at this," she said. "Thank you," I whispered, fighting back tears. "I can tell you care. That's rare these days." I realized something that day. I'd found my purpose. This was what I was meant to do. I graduated with honors. Emma, now 7 years old, sat in the audience with my mom, holding a sign that said, "My mom is a nurse." I'd done it. Against all odds, I'd actually done it. I immediately applied to Boston General Hospital, one of the best hospitals in the city. I didn't expect to get the job. I was a brand new nurse with 0 experience, but they offered me a position in the emergency department. My first day, I was terrified, but also exhilarated. This was real. This was happening. I was actually a nurse. Over the next 4 years, I threw myself into my career. I worked extra shifts. I took on difficult cases. I learned everything I could from the experienced nurses and doctors around me. I wasn't doing it to prove anything to Mark. I was doing it for me and for Emma. I wanted her to see that you can rebuild, that you can start over, that you don't have to accept the life someone else has chosen for you. Slowly, my life changed. I got promoted to senior nurse in the ER. My salary increased. I was able to move into a nicer apartment. I bought a reliable car, not fancy, but mine, paid for with money I'd earned. I even started dating, casually, nothing serious, but it felt good to remember that I was a person with value, that someone could see me and appreciate me. I wasn't the invisible wife anymore. I was Chloe Grant, RN, a respected professional who saved lives. 4 years after the divorce, I walked into Boston General for my morning shift. It was a Tuesday, just a regular Tuesday. I grabbed a coffee from the break room, checked the patient board, and saw that I'd been assigned to room 347, new admission, minor head injury. I grabbed the chart, looked at the name, Mark Collins. My heart stopped. I read it again. Mark Collins, age 37, admitted at 7:15 a.m. after slipping in his bathroom and hitting his head. Minor concussion. Under observation. It was him. It had to be him. I stood there in the hallway, chart in my hands, and I had a choice to make. I could ask to be reassigned, tell them I had a conflict of interest, let someone else take care of him, or I could walk in there and show him exactly who I'd become. I took a deep breath, straightened my scrubs, checked my reflection in the window, professional, composed, confident. Then I walked toward room 347. My hands weren't shaking. My heart wasn't racing. I felt calm, powerful even, because I realized something. He couldn't hurt me anymore. He couldn't make me feel small. He couldn't dismiss my dreams or my worth. I was about to walk into that room as his nurse, as the person in charge of his care, as someone with knowledge and authority and respect. The irony was almost too perfect. I pushed open the door to room 347. Mark was lying in the hospital bed, one hand on his forehead, eyes closed. He looked tired, older than I remembered. There was a small bandage on his temple. "Good morning, Mr. Collins," I said in my professional nurse voice. "I'm Chloe, and I'll be your nurse today." His eyes opened. He looked at me, and I watched the recognition hit him like a truck. His mouth opened slightly. His eyes went wide. The color literally drained from his face. "It's Chloe?" I gave him a polite smile, the same smile I gave every patient. "That's right. I'll be taking care of you today. How are you feeling? Any nausea? Dizziness?" He just stared at me, like he couldn't process what he was seeing. I stood there in my navy scrubs, stethoscope around my neck, tablet in my hand, completely calm and professional, and he looked like he wanted the earth to swallow him whole. I didn't know you were a nurse," he finally managed to say. "Well, it's been 4 years since we spoke," I said simply, checking the monitors next to his bed. "A lot has changed." I could feel his eyes on me as I worked. I documented his vitals in the system. Blood pressure, slightly elevated, probably from the shock of seeing me. Heart rate, elevated. Oxygen levels, normal. "Your blood pressure is a bit high," I said. "That's normal after a head injury, but we'll monitor it. Are you experiencing any pain right now?" No, just a headache." "On a scale of 1 to 10? Maybe a 4? I'll get you something for that." I made a note on my tablet. The silence in the room was deafening. "Chloe, he started. I looked up from my tablet, my expression neutral, professional. "Yes, Mr. Collins?" The formal address clearly threw him. I'm surprised. I had no idea you were working here." Like I said, a lot has changed. I finished my notes and looked at him properly for the first time. "The doctor will be in shortly to do a full assessment. In the meantime, you need to rest. No phone, no screens. We need to make sure you don't have a more serious concussion." "Chloe, is there anything else you need right now? Water? Extra pillows?" He stopped, looked at me, and I could see it in his eyes, the realization that I wasn't going to have a personal conversation with him, that I was here as his nurse, nothing more. "No," he said quietly. "I'm okay." "Great, I'll check on you in 30 minutes. I turned to leave. "Chloe, wait." I paused at the door, hand on the handle. I'm sorry for everything." I turned back to him. My face remained calm, professional, unmoved. "That's very kind of you to say, Mr. Collins. Now please rest. Doctor's orders." And I walked out. I went straight to the break room. My hands were shaking, not from fear or anger, but from adrenaline. My colleague, Jennifer, was making coffee. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Something like that," I said, sitting down heavily. "Bad patient?" I laughed. "Actually, no. It's my ex-husband." Her eyes went wide. "What?" "Room 347, minor head injury, complete coincidence." "Oh my God, do you want me to take over?" I thought about it for a second. Then I shook my head. "No, I can handle it. It's just weird." "I bet. How long has it been?" 4 years, since the divorce." Jennifer sat down next to me. "How do you feel?" That was the question, wasn't it? How did I feel? Honestly? Powerful. She smiled. Good, you should. You're an amazing nurse, Chloe. And if he didn't see that in you before, he sure as hell sees it now. 30 minutes later, I went back to check on him. He was sitting up slightly, staring at the wall. When I came in, he looked almost ashamed. How are you feeling now? I asked, checking his monitors again. Better. The headache's a bit less. Good. I made notes. Your vitals are improving. That's a good sign. Chloe, your blood pressure's still a bit elevated. Are you feeling anxious? He hesitated. Yeah, a bit. Of course he was. He was lying in a hospital bed, being cared for by the ex-wife he'd dismissed and abandoned. That's normal after a head injury, I said, not acknowledging the real reason. Try to take deep breaths. The doctor should be here soon. I adjusted his pillows without being asked, made sure his water was within reach, did all the small things I did for every patient. Professional, competent, kind, but distant. Dr. Patel came in about 20 minutes later. I gave him the rundown on Mark's condition, vitals, symptoms, medications administered. Dr. Patel examined Mark, asked him questions, checked his reflexes and pupils. Looks like a mild concussion, Dr. Patel said. We'll keep you for observation for a few more hours, but you should be fine to go home later today. Nurse Grant will be monitoring you. Nurse Grant is one of our best, he added, glancing at me with a smile. You're in good hands. I saw Mark's face when Dr. Patel said that, saw the realization hit him again. After Dr. Patel left, Mark looked at me. Nurse Grant? I went back to my maiden name after the divorce. Oh. Another silence. How's Emma? He asked suddenly. I paused. That was the first time he'd asked about our daughter in, I couldn't even remember how long. She's 11 now. She's doing great. Honor roll, soccer team, lots of friends. 11, he repeated, like he couldn't believe it. I haven't seen her in 2 years, I filled in. You canceled the last 3 visitation weekends. He looked down at his hands. I've been really busy with work. There it was again. Work. Always work. That's what you always say, Mark. I know, he trailed off. You look really good, Chloe. Really professional. I'm impressed. I almost laughed. You're impressed? That's generous of you. I didn't mean, I know what you meant. I checked my watch. I need to see my other patients. I'll be back to check on you in an hour. As I walked down the hallway to my next patient, memories came flooding back. All those times Mark had made me feel small. All those times he'd dismissed my dreams. All those times he'd acted like his life, his career, his stress was more important than anything I could ever contribute. And now I was the one with the knowledge, the one with the authority, the one in control. He was the one lying in a bed, vulnerable and helpless, completely dependent on me. The universe has a funny sense of humor. During my lunch break, Jennifer found me in the cafeteria. So, how's it going with Mr. Ex-husband? I picked at my salad. Weird. He keeps trying to have personal conversations, and I keep redirecting to medical topics. Smart. Keep it professional. He asked about Emma, first time in 2 years. Jennifer shook her head. Typical. Men like that only care when they've lost something. The thing is, I said, I don't even feel angry anymore. I feel nothing, like he's just another patient. That's growth, girl. That means you've moved on. But had I? Or was I just really good at compartmentalizing? In the afternoon, I had to help Mark to the bathroom. Hospital protocol. He'd hit his head, so we needed to make sure he was steady on his feet. I can do it myself, he protested weakly. It's procedure, Mr. Collins. Humor me. I helped him stand. He was unsteady at first, and I caught his arm to stabilize him. For a brief moment, we were close, face to face, and I could see it in his eyes, all the regret, all the things he wanted to say, but I didn't give him the opportunity. Careful, I said professionally, small steps. I walked him to the bathroom, waited outside, then helped him back to bed. Thank you, he said quietly. You're welcome. As I was about to leave the room again, he said, Chloe, I need to say something. I stopped, turned, waited. I was wrong, about everything. About you, about your dreams, about what you were capable of. I was a terrible husband. I see that now. I stood there looking at him, waiting to feel something. Anger, satisfaction, vindication. But I felt nothing. I appreciate you saying that, I said finally. Can you forgive me? I already have, Mark, a long time ago. I had to, for my own peace of mind. He looked hopeful. So we could maybe... But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean we're going to be friends. It just means I'm not carrying anger anymore. His face fell. I've built a life I'm proud of, I continued. I have a career I love. I have a daughter who's thriving. I have self-respect. I don't need anything from you except for you to be a better father to Emma. I want to be, he said. I will be. I've heard that before. At 6 p.m., Dr. Patel cleared Mark for discharge. I went over his discharge instructions with him. Rest for 24 to 48 hours. No driving for 24 hours. Warning signs to watch for. Follow-up appointment information. All business, all professional. Is there someone who can pick you up? I asked. You're not supposed to drive. I'll call a friend. Good, wait here until they arrive. I handed him his discharge papers. Chloe, he said one more time. I looked at him. Thank you for everything today. You didn't have to be so kind to me. I'm kind to all my patients, Mark. That's what good nurses do. The emphasis on good nurses wasn't lost on him. I was good at what I did, despite what he'd thought of me, despite what he'd said. I really am sorry, he said again. I know you are. Take care of yourself, Mark, and call Emma. She deserves better from you. And then I left for the last time. Jennifer caught up with me as I was changing out of my scrubs at the end of the shift. How do you feel now? She asked. I thought about it, really thought about it. Free, I said finally. I feel free. Free? For so long, I carried this idea of him around. The man who didn't believe in me, the man who made me feel worthless. But seeing him today, I realized he's just a guy. Just a regular guy who made bad choices and has to live with them. And you? I made better choices. I became someone I'm proud of, and that has nothing to do with him. I didn't tell Emma about seeing her father at the hospital. What was I supposed to say? Hey, honey, your dad fell and hit his head, and guess who his nurse was? It felt like it would open doors I'd worked hard to close. Emma was doing great. She didn't ask about Mark much anymore. She'd adapted to life with just me. We had routines, traditions, our own little world. And honestly, she seemed happier. Life went back to normal. I worked my shifts at Boston General. I came home to Emma. We did homework together, watched movies, talked about her day at school. I thought that was the end of the Mark chapter. I was wrong. 3 days after the hospital incident, I got a text message from an unknown number. Hi, Chloe, it's Mark. I got your number from the hospital directory. I hope that's okay. I wanted to thank you again for taking care of me. You were incredibly professional and kind. It made me realize how much I've missed. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, block the number, move on. But another part of me, the part that remembered being married to him, that remembered hoping he'd change, that part felt something. Not hope, not longing, just curiosity. I texted back, "You're welcome. I hope you're recovering well." Short, professional, distant. He replied immediately, "Can we talk? I'd really like to see Emma, and maybe explain some things to you." There it was. He wanted back in. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him for coffee. Not at my house, not anywhere near Emma, a neutral public place. We met on a Saturday morning at a Starbucks downtown. He looked better than he had in the hospital. No bandage, just a small mark on his temple where he'd hit his head. He was wearing jeans and a sweater, casual, not the suit and tie Mark I remembered. "Thanks for meeting me," he said as I sat down. "I have 1 hour," I said. "Then I need to pick up Emma from soccer practice." "Soccer practice, right." He smiled weakly. "I should know these things about my own daughter." "Yes, you should." The bluntness seemed to surprise him. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since the hospital," Mark began. Seeing you like that, successful, confident, respected, it made me realize what an idiot I've been. I sipped my coffee and waited. When we were married, I was so focused on my career that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. You kept trying to talk to me about your dreams, and I shut you down every time. I made you feel small because, honestly, because I was insecure. Insecure? That surprised me. Yeah, you were always so much better with people than me. You cared about things that mattered. You wanted to help people. And I was just chasing money and status. He shook his head. I think part of me was afraid that if you became successful at something meaningful, you'd realize how shallow I was. I hadn't expected that level of self-awareness from Mark. So instead of supporting you, he continued, I tried to keep you small, keep you dependent. And when you asked for a divorce, part of me was relieved, because then I didn't have to face my own failures as a husband. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because seeing you at the hospital was a wake-up call. You didn't need me to succeed. You did it on your own. And Emma, his voice cracked slightly, Emma is growing up without me, and that's my fault. I want to be part of her life again, Mark said. Really part of it. Not just the occasional weekend visit that I cancel because of work. I want to be her dad. I leaned back in my chair, studying him. Mark, you've said things like this before. After the divorce, you promised you'd stay involved. You lasted 3 months. I know. You promised you'd make it to her 8th birthday. You called 2 hours before the party to cancel. I know. You promised you'd take her to the zoo. You rescheduled 4 times and then just stopped responding to my texts. He looked down at his coffee cup. I know. So why should I believe this time is different? He looked up at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Genuine remorse. Because I don't want to be this person anymore, he said quietly. I don't want to be the dad who's too busy, the ex-husband who walked away, the guy who didn't appreciate what he had until it was gone. I thought about it, really thought about it. Emma deserved to have a father who showed up. And if Mark was genuinely ready to change, I didn't want to stand in the way of that. But I also wasn't going to let him hurt her again. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You want back in Emma's life? You earn it. You show up. Consistently. Not when it's convenient. Not when work allows. Consistently. Okay? Every other Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Supervised at first. I need to see that you're serious before I let you take her anywhere alone. He nodded. That's fair. You don't cancel. You don't reschedule. You don't show up late. If something comes up at work, you figure it out. Emma comes first. I understand. And if you mess this up, if you promise her something and don't deliver, you're done. I won't give you another chance to break her heart. I won't mess it up, he said. I wanted to believe him, but I'd learned not to trust words. Only actions mattered. 2 weeks later, Mark came to pick up Emma for their first visit in over 2 years. She was nervous. I could see it in the way she kept adjusting her shirt, the way she stayed close to me when the doorbell rang. You okay, baby? I asked. What if he doesn't remember me? She whispered. My heart broke. She was 11 years old and worried her own father wouldn't remember her. He remembers you, I said, hugging her. And if anything feels weird or uncomfortable, you text me and I'll come get you immediately, okay? Okay. I opened the door. Mark stood there with a nervous smile, holding a gift bag. Hi, Emma, he said softly. Emma looked up at me. I nodded encouragingly. Hi, Dad, she said, her voice small. For the first month, I supervised their visits. We'd go to parks, museums, restaurants, neutral places where Emma felt safe and I could observe. Mark tried, I'll give him that. He asked her about school, about her friends, about soccer. He listened, really listened, in a way I'd never seen him listen before. But there was awkwardness. Years of absence can't be erased in a few visits. Emma would tell him about something that happened at school, and he wouldn't know who she was talking about. She'd reference an inside joke with her friends, and he'd look confused. He was essentially a stranger trying to get to know his own daughter. It was painful to watch. But he kept showing up, every other Saturday, on time, no cancellations. One night, about 6 weeks into the visits, Emma came to my room before bed. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course, baby, what's up?" She sat on my bed, picking at her blanket. "Why did Dad stop seeing me?" I took a deep breath. I'd known this question would come eventually. "Your dad was very focused on his work. He made bad choices about his priorities." "Did I do something wrong?" "No, baby, no. This had nothing to do with you. Adults sometimes make mistakes. Your dad made a big one." "Do you think he's sorry?" "I think he is. But being sorry and changing are two different things. That's why we're taking things slow." She nodded, processing this. "Do you want me to keep seeing him?" she asked. "That's your choice, Emma. I'll support whatever you decide, but I think everyone deserves a chance to change, as long as he keeps showing up and treating you with respect." He bought me a book about soccer. He said he's been watching videos about it so we can talk about it. That surprised me. Mark had never shown interest in sports. That's good, baby. That shows he's trying. 3 months into the supervised visits, something changed. We were at the park. Emma was on the swings, and Mark was pushing her. They were laughing, really laughing, about something silly. And I realized he was doing it. He was actually showing up and being a dad. Later, as we walked to the car, Mark pulled me aside. "Can we talk for a minute?" "Sure." "I know I have a long way to go to rebuild trust, with Emma and with you. But I want you to know, this is the most important thing I've ever done. Being here, being her dad. It means more to me than any promotion or project at work ever has." "I can see that you're trying, Mark. Emma sees it too." "I was thinking, maybe we could do unsupervised visits soon? I'd like to take her to a Red Sox game, just the two of us." I looked at Emma, who was sitting on a bench looking at her phone, unaware of our conversation. "Let me talk to Emma about it," I said. "If she's comfortable, then yes. But Mark, I know, don't mess it up." "Exactly." That night, I asked Emma if she'd be comfortable spending time alone with Mark. She thought about it for a long time. "I think so," she said finally. "He's been nice, and he always remembers to ask about my games now." "You don't have to if you're not ready." "I know, but I think I want to try. He's my dad, right? Even if he wasn't around for a while." The wisdom of children never ceases to amaze me. "Okay, but remember, if anything feels wrong, you call me immediately." "I will, Mom, promise." Mark took Emma to the Red Sox game. I spent the entire 4 hours anxious, checking my phone every 10 minutes. But Emma came home happy, really happy. "Mom, it was so fun. We got hot dogs, and Dad taught me about the different positions, and we did the wave, and..." She talked for 30 minutes straight about the game. And I realized, maybe Mark really had changed. Maybe people can learn from their mistakes. Jennifer asked me about it at work a week later. "So your ex is back in the picture?" "As Emma's dad, yes. Not as anything to do with me." "How does that make you feel?" I paused. "Complicated. I'm glad Emma has her dad back, but I'm also cautious, waiting for him to revert to his old patterns." "Has he?" "Not yet, but it's only been 4 months." "Give him some credit, Chloe. People can change." "Maybe, but I'm not going to let my guard down." 6 months into regular visits, Mark asked me something I didn't expect. We were doing the handoff. Emma was getting her backpack from his car after spending the afternoon with him. "Chloe, I have to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with me." "Okay." "Do you think there's any chance for us? Not now, obviously, but someday?" I looked at him, really looked at him. He was trying. He'd shown up for Emma. He'd kept his promises. He was becoming the father she deserved. But that didn't change our past. "Mark, I think you're doing something wonderful for Emma, and I'm grateful for that. But you and me? That chapter is closed. You don't think we could? I've built a life without you, a good life. I'm not the woman you were married to anymore. I don't need you. I don't want to go backwards." He looked sad, but accepting. "I understand. I had to ask." "Focus on Emma," I said gently. "That's what matters now. Be the dad she deserves. That's how you make amends." He nodded. "You're right. Thank you, Chloe. for giving me this chance. Thank Emma, she's the one who wanted to try. It was almost exactly 1 year after Mark had walked into my emergency room. I was at work doing my usual rounds when I stopped and realized it had been a year. A year since that surreal moment when my past and present collided. And so much had changed. Mark had been consistently present in Emma's life. Every other weekend, every Wednesday evening dinner, he'd been to every single one of her soccer games. He knew her friends' names. He knew her favorite subjects in school. He'd become an actual father. And me? I'd watched it happen, with a mixture of relief, caution, and something I couldn't quite name. Emma turned 12 in November. We'd always done small celebrations, just me, Emma, my mom, and a few of her friends. This year, Emma asked if Mark could come. I hesitated. Birthday parties felt intimate, family. But technically, he was family. If you want him there, baby, then of course he can come. Thanks, Mom. I think it would be nice. The party was at our apartment. Mark arrived exactly on time with a wrapped present and a nervous smile. He fit in better than I expected. He helped set up decorations. He made awkward dad jokes with Emma's friends. He sang happy birthday, off-key. My mom pulled me aside in the kitchen. He's different, she said. I know. You think it'll last? I don't know, Mom. But for today, Emma's happy. That's what matters. Later, as we were cutting the cake, Emma stood between Mark and me for a photo. Her friend took the picture, and I looked at it afterward. We looked like a family. Not the family we used to be, but something new, something functional. It was strange and kind of beautiful. A few weeks after the birthday party, I was tucking Emma into bed when she said something that stopped me cold. Mom, I know you and Dad aren't going to get back together. Oh, okay. Did someone say something? No one had to say anything. I'm not a little kid anymore, I can tell. I sat down on her bed. How do you feel about that? She thought about it. I'm okay with it. I mean, I used to think maybe you guys would. But now, I kind of like how things are. Yeah? Yeah, you're happy, Dad's trying to be better, and I get to see both of you without you fighting or being sad. The wisdom in those words, from a 12-year-old. You're pretty smart, you know that? I said, kissing her forehead. I get it from you, she grinned. Good night, baby. Night, Mom. Love you. Love you too. In December, I was offered a promotion to emergency department supervisor. It came with more responsibility, better pay, and a small office instead of sharing the break room. When I told Emma, she hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. I'm so proud of you, Mom. Thanks, baby. Can I tell Dad? He'll be so excited. That caught me off guard. When did Mark become someone Emma wanted to share good news with? Sure, you can tell him. She called him immediately. I could hear her enthusiastic voice from the kitchen. Dad, Mom got a promotion. She's going to be a supervisor. Isn't that amazing? I couldn't hear Mark's response, but Emma was beaming when she came back. He said he's really proud of you too, and he wants to take us both out to dinner to celebrate. Both of us? Yeah, is that okay? I know it's kind of weird, but he sounded really genuine. I thought about it. A year ago, I would have said no immediately, but things had changed. Okay, we can do dinner. We went to a nice Italian restaurant downtown. Emma sat between us, chattering about everything. School, soccer, her friends, a book she was reading. Mark listened attentively, asked questions, laughed at her jokes. At one point, Emma excused herself to go to the bathroom, leaving Mark and me alone at the table. I meant what I said, Mark said after a moment. I'm proud of you, Chloe. You've accomplished so much. Thank you. I know I can never take credit for any of it. You did this all on your own. But watching you thrive, it's made me realize how badly I underestimated you. Mark, I'm not trying to start anything. I just wanted you to know you're an incredible person, an incredible mother, an incredible nurse. And I'm sorry I never saw that when we were married. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. I've been going to therapy, he added quietly. Therapy? Yeah, after the hospital thing, I realized I needed help. Figuring out why I pushed people away, why I prioritized work over everything else. My therapist says I have some unresolved issues from childhood. My dad was never around, so I thought success meant being absent and important. That's good that you're working on that. I'm trying to be better, for Emma, for myself. Emma came back to the table and the conversation shifted, but I kept thinking about what Mark had said. He was trying, really trying. At work, Jennifer asked me the question I'd been avoiding. So, your ex is back in the picture. He's being a good dad. He's going to therapy. He clearly still has feelings for you. What are you going to do? Nothing, I said. I'm not going to do anything. Chloe, Jen, I've built a life I love. I don't need a man to complete it. And Mark, he's Emma's dad. That's his role now. Not my husband, not my boyfriend. Emma's dad. But what if he's changed? What if he's genuinely different now? Then good for him, but that doesn't mean I have to give him another chance. Some doors, once closed, stay closed. She looked at me thoughtfully. You're really over him, aren't you? Yeah, I am. And it was true. I thought about it a lot. When I saw Mark now, I didn't feel anger or resentment anymore, but I also didn't feel love or attraction. I felt neutrality. Maybe even a little fondness, the way you might feel about an old acquaintance who's gotten their life together. But not love. Never again love. In January, something happened that tested everyone. Emma was at Mark's for the weekend when she started having severe stomach pain. Mark called me, panicked. Chloe, something's wrong. She's in a lot of pain and she has a fever. Bring her to Boston General. I'll meet you in the ER. I called ahead to let them know we were coming. By the time Mark arrived with Emma, I had a room ready and Dr. Patel waiting. Emma was pale and crying. I shifted immediately into nurse mode, calm, professional, focused. Hey baby, I'm here. We're going to figure this out. Tests, ultrasound, blood work, the whole process took 2 hours. Appendicitis. She needed surgery immediately. I held Emma's hand while we waited for the OR to be ready. Mark stood on the other side of her bed, looking terrified. She's going to be okay, right? He asked. Yes, it's a routine surgery. Dr. Patel is one of the best. I'm scared, Mom, Emma whispered. I know, baby, but I'll be right here when you wake up. Promise. They took her to surgery. Mark and I sat in the waiting room in tense silence. After about 20 minutes, Mark spoke. I can't lose her. You won't. She's strong. She's going to be fine. I can't believe I wasted so much time, years of not being there for her. What if, Mark, stop. She's going to be fine. And you've been there for her this past year. That's what matters. He put his head in his hands. I don't know how you did it. All those years alone, raising her, going to nursing school, building a career. You're so much stronger than me. I did what I had to do, what any mother would do. Not any mother. You're extraordinary, Chloe. I didn't respond. What could I say? Dr. Patel came out an hour later. Surgery went perfectly. She's in recovery now. You can see her in about 30 minutes. Mark and I both sagged with relief. When we went to see Emma, she was groggy but awake. She reached for my hand first, then Mark's. Mom, Dad. We're here, baby, I said. Both of you? Both of us, Mark confirmed. She smiled sleepily and drifted back to sleep. Mark looked at me across Emma's bed. Thank you for being so calm, for knowing what to do. It's my job. It's more than that. You're her rock. You always have been. Emma stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Mark and I took turns staying with her, me during the day shifts, him at night. It was the most time we'd spent together in years. And it was okay. We talked about Emma mostly, her school, her friends, her interests. Sometimes we talked about work. Mark told me about a project he was working on. I told him about some of the cases at the hospital. It felt almost normal, like we were co-parents who happened to get along, which, I realized, is exactly what we were. On Emma's last day in the hospital, I was checking her discharge papers when Mark pulled me aside. Chloe, I need to tell you something. Okay. This past year, being back in Emma's life, seeing you thrive, It's made me realize a lot of things, and I need to stop pretending I'm okay with just being Emma's dad. My stomach dropped. Here it comes. I still have feelings for you, he said. I know I messed up. I know I don't deserve another chance. But I love you. I probably never stopped loving you. I took a deep breath. Mark, wait, let me finish. I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know, because I've been carrying it around for months, and it's killing me. Mark, you don't have to say anything. I know your answer. I just needed to say it out loud, for me. I looked at him, this man I'd been married to, this man who'd broken my heart, this man who was finally becoming the person he should have been all along. I'm glad you told me, I said finally, because I need you to hear this. I don't love you anymore. I care about you as Emma's father. I respect the changes you've made. But romantic love? That's gone. It's been gone for a long time. He nodded slowly. I understand. And I need you to be okay with that, because Emma needs both of us in her life. And we can't do that if you're holding on to hope that's never going to materialize. You're right. I know you're right. Can you do that? Can you move forward? He was quiet for a moment. Then, yeah, I can. I have to. It's been 2 years since Mark walked into my emergency room. 2 years since that moment that felt like the universe's way of showing me how far I'd come. Today, I want to tell you where I am now, not just physically or professionally, but as a person. Because this story isn't really about Mark. It never was. It's about what happens when you refuse to accept someone else's definition of who you are. I'm 35 years old. I'm the emergency department supervisor at Boston General Hospital, one of the most respected hospitals in New England. I own my own home, a small 3-bedroom house with a backyard where Emma and her friends play soccer. I drive a reliable car that I paid for myself. I have a retirement account that's actually growing. I take Emma on vacation every summer. But those are just the external markers of success. The real changes are internal. I wake up every morning and I like who I see in the mirror. I'm confident. I'm capable. I know my worth. I don't need anyone's permission to pursue my dreams. I don't need anyone's validation to feel valuable. I'm enough, just as I am. Emma is 13 now. She's thriving. She's captain of her soccer team. She's in honors classes. She has a close group of friends. She's confident and kind and smart. And she has 2 parents who show up for her. Mark has continued to be present. He comes to every game, every school event, every important moment. He and I co-parent effectively. We communicate about Emma's needs. We support each other's relationships with her. We're not friends, exactly, but we're good co-parents, and that's enough. Emma knows she's loved. She knows she's supported. And she's watching both her parents model what healthy adulting looks like, including the part where people can make mistakes and grow from them. People always ask, "Are you dating anyone?" I've dated casually over the past 2 years. Nice men, good men, men who respect me and my career and my role as a mother, but nothing serious. Nothing that's made me want to change my life. And I'm okay with that. For so long, I thought I needed a relationship to be complete. That's what society tells women, right? That we need to be partnered to be whole. But I learned something important. I'm already whole. Would I like to find someone eventually? Someone who values me, supports me, sees me as an equal partner? Sure, that would be nice. But I'm not waiting for it. I'm not putting my life on hold for it. I'm living fully, right now, as I am. And if the right person comes along, great. And if they don't, I'm still going to have an amazing life. Last month, I was offered another promotion, Assistant Director of Nursing for the entire hospital. It's a big job, more responsibility, more visibility, more impact. 5 years ago, I couldn't have imagined this. I was a newly divorced, single mother wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake going to nursing school. Now I'm being offered leadership positions at one of the best hospitals in Boston. I accepted the promotion. When I told Emma, she said, "I knew you would get it. You're amazing at your job." When I told Mark, because we're at that place where we share these things, he said, "Congratulations, you've earned it." When I told my mom, she cried, "I'm so proud of you, honey." But the person I was most proud to tell? Myself. I looked in the mirror that night and said, "You did it. You actually did it." About a month ago, I ran into someone at the hospital, someone I hadn't seen in years, Dr. Martinez, my former nursing professor, the one who'd told me I was one of the best students she'd ever had. She was visiting a colleague and happened to walk past my office. "Chloe? Chloe Grant?" "Dr. Martinez, hi." We hugged. She looked at my nameplate on the door. "Chloe Grant, RN, MSN, Assistant Director of Nursing." "Look at you," she said, beaming. "I always knew you'd be exceptional." "You were right. I should have believed you sooner. You were always meant for this. Some people are born to be nurses. You're one of them." We talked for a few minutes. She asked about my journey, about Emma, about my plans for the future. As she was leaving, she said, "You know what I remember most about you? You cared. In a profession where burnout is common, you genuinely cared about every patient. That's rare. Don't ever lose that." "I won't," I promised. People sometimes ask me if that moment in the hospital, when Mark saw me as his nurse, felt like revenge. The answer is complicated. In the moment, yes, there was definitely a sense of poetic justice. The man who'd told me I'd never amount to anything, lying vulnerable in a hospital bed while I stood over him with skills and knowledge he couldn't comprehend. But here's what I've learned. The best revenge isn't making someone else suffer. It's becoming so successful that their opinion of you becomes irrelevant. Mark's dismissal of my dreams hurt me deeply, but my success isn't about proving him wrong. It's about proving myself right. I was capable all along. I just needed to believe it. If I could go back and talk to that 29-year-old woman, the one crying in her kitchen, feeling invisible and worthless, here's what I'd tell her. 1. Your worth is not determined by someone else's inability to see it. When Mark dismissed my dreams, I internalized that. I thought maybe he was right. Maybe I was asking for too much. Maybe I should just be grateful for what I had. But his limitations weren't my limitations. His lack of vision wasn't my lack of potential. 2. It's never too late to start over. I was 29, divorced, with a young child when I started nursing school. People told me I was too old, it was too hard, I'd never make it. They were wrong. Age is not a barrier to growth. It's never too late to pursue your dreams. 3. Your children are watching. Emma saw me struggle. She saw me cry. She saw me doubt myself. But she also saw me persevere. She saw me study until late at night. She saw me celebrate small victories. She saw me become stronger. And now she knows that women can rebuild, that mothers can have careers they're passionate about, that it's okay to choose yourself. 4. Forgiveness is for you, not for them. I forgave Mark, not because he deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Carrying anger is exhausting. It weighs you down. It keeps you tied to the person who hurt you. Forgiveness cut that tie. It let me move forward free. 5. Success is the best response to dismissal. I didn't need to prove anything to Mark, but watching him realize what he'd lost, that was just a bonus. The real victory was proving it to myself. Here's something I didn't expect to learn. Showing kindness to Mark in his vulnerable moment was good for me, not just for him. I could have been cold, cruel even. He certainly wouldn't have blamed me. But I chose professional compassion. I treated him with the same care I'd give any patient. And you know what? That choice reinforced something important. I'm not defined by bitterness. I'm not limited by revenge. I'm bigger than my hurt. Choosing kindness, even to someone who'd hurt me, proved that I'd truly moved on. If you're listening to this and you're in a situation where someone is making you feel small, invisible, or incapable, I want you to hear this. They're wrong. Maybe it's a spouse who dismisses your dreams. Maybe it's a boss who underestimates you. Maybe it's a parent who never believed in you. Maybe it's society telling you you're too old, too busy, too whatever to pursue what you want. They're all wrong. You are capable of more than you know. You are stronger than you think. You are worthy of respect, love, and success. But here's the hard part. No one can give you these things. You have to claim them for yourself. If you're thinking about making a big change, going back to school, starting a business, leaving a relationship that's holding you back, here's my advice. 1. Start small. You don't have to transform your whole life overnight. Take one class, send out one job application, have one difficult conversation. Small steps lead to big changes. 2. Build a support system. I couldn't have done this without my mom, my friends, my professors. Find your people and let them help you. 3. Ignore the doubters, including the voice in your own head that tells you you can't do it. That voice is wrong. 4. Celebrate small victories. Paid off one credit card? Celebrate. Passed one test? Celebrate. Made it through one hard day? Celebrate. Progress is progress. 5. Be patient with yourself. Change takes time. Growth is messy. There will be setbacks. That's okay. Keep going. 6. Document your journey. Take photos, keep journals, save emails. You'll want to remember how far you've come. 7. Remember why you're doing this. For me, it was Emma. Every time I wanted to quit, I looked at her and remembered. I'm showing her what's possible. You want to know when I knew I'd truly made it? When I'd truly transformed? It wasn't getting the promotion. It wasn't buying my house. It wasn't even that moment in the hospital. It was about 6 months ago. Emma and I were having breakfast on a Saturday morning, and she said casually, "Mom, when I grow up, I want to be like you." "Yeah? What do you mean?" "I want to help people, and I want to be strong enough to do hard things, like you did." That's when I knew. I'd broken the cycle. I'd shown her what's possible. That's success. That's victory. That's everything. Today, I'm sitting in my office at Boston General. I'm the assistant director of nursing. I have a team of incredible nurses who look to me for guidance and support. I'm a single mother to an amazing 13-year-old daughter who's confident, kind, and knows her worth. I co-parent effectively with my ex-husband, who's finally become the father Emma deserves. I'm financially stable. I'm professionally respected. I'm personally fulfilled. But most importantly, I know who I am, and I like her. I started this story telling you about the day my ex-husband walked into my emergency room and saw me, really saw me, for the first time. But the real story isn't about that moment. It's about all the moments that came before it. The late nights studying, the early mornings rushing to class, the moments of doubt, the small victories, the gradual transformation from invisible wife to respected professional. That moment in the hospital was just confirmation of something I already knew. I had rebuilt myself into someone stronger. If you take nothing else from my story, take this. You have that same power. You can rebuild. You can start over. You can become someone you're proud of. It won't be easy. It won't be quick. There will be days you want to quit. But you won't quit because you're stronger than you know. Someone once told me that nursing is about more than just medical care. It's about seeing people in their most vulnerable moments and treating them with dignity and compassion. That's what I did for Mark that day in the hospital. Not because he deserved it, but because I'm a good nurse, and good nurses care for all their patients. But here's the beautiful irony. In caring for him, I proved to myself that I'd truly moved on, that I was bigger than my pain, that I'd become the person I was always meant to be. The silent care I gave him wasn't about revenge. It was about redemption. Mine, not his. Emma asked me recently if I regretted my marriage to Mark. That's complicated, I told her. I regret how he treated me. I regret the time I wasted feeling invisible. But I don't regret the marriage itself. Why not? Because it gave me you, and it taught me what I don't want in a relationship. Sometimes the worst experiences teach us the most valuable lessons. So you're glad it happened? I'm glad I survived it. I'm glad I grew from it. I'm glad it led me here. And I am. I really am. This is Chloe Grant, RN, MSN, Assistant Director of Nursing, single mother, survivor, and someone who refused to stay invisible. Thank you for listening to my story. Now go write yours. You've got this. I believe in you. If this story resonated with you, please share it. Maybe someone in your life needs to hear that they can rebuild, that they're stronger than they think, that it's never too late to start over. And if you're going through something similar right now, if you're feeling invisible or dismissed or underestimated, remember, this is just one chapter. You get to write the next one. Make it a good one. Subscribe for more real stories about real people rebuilding their lives. Because we all deserve to know we're worth more than someone else's inability to see our value.